Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Burr Ridge for Bastille Day, July 14, 2025. Tonight we have the privilege of being led in the pledge by Eagle Scout preparer, he's almost there, John Patterson, who is a senior at LT, lives in Burr Ridge, of course. His project is related to making playgrounds safer and Little Red Schoolhouse project, right? All right, Jacob, please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jacob. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Trustee Francis.
Here.
Trustee Paveza.
Here.
Trustee Matal.
Here.
Schiappa and Smith are not here. Trustee Snyder.
Here.
Mayor Grasso.
Here. Both Trustee Schiappa and Trustee Smith gave us notice that their schedules would not permit them to be here tonight, but they did give us proper notice. Okay, that takes us to item 3, presentations and public hearing. Tonight we have the swearing in of Sergeant Thomas Hoster. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. It is an honor to formally announce the promotion of Tom Hoster to the rank of sergeant with the Burr Ridge Police Department. Sergeant Hoster has served the village of Burr Ridge for the past 9 years. His most recent assignment was as a detective in the investigations division, where he played a critical role in several complex and high-profile cases. He also served as an investigator for the Merit Major Crimes Task Force, where he contributed significantly to major criminal investigations across DuPage County. Throughout his career, Sergeant Hoster has demonstrated a level of leadership and professionalism, having served as both an officer in charge and a patrol officer within the division. This evening, we are pleased to have Sergeant Hoster joined by his wife, Mindy, and his parents who have supported him throughout his career. Please join me in congratulating Sergeant Hoster on his well-deserved promotion and a new leadership role within the Burr Ridge Police Department.
Gonna read?
You, Thomas Hoster, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of sergeant according to the best of your ability.
I do.
I'll come down and take a
Good
couple.
luck and congratulations.
Okay, you can all leave now. Okay, we know how to clear a room when we need to. This takes us to item 4, the consent agenda. An item shall be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any one trustee or anyone present at the meeting. Those items marked with an asterisk are considered to be, excuse me, on the consent agenda. A roll call shall be taken on the approval of the consent agenda and recorded in the minutes as an omnibus vote. If an item is removed from the consent agenda, it will be discussed by the board, open for public comment, and voted upon during this meeting. 5 minutes. A, approval of regular board meeting of June 9, 2025. B, receive and file economic development meeting of June 11, 2025. C, receive and file plan commission meeting of June 16, 2025. 6, ordinances. C, approval of an ordinance granting special use request for 1, outdoor storage in accordance with zoning ordinance section XF, and 2, a fence in a non-residential district in accordance with zoning ordinance section 4J, and a variation for 1 trash enclosure deviations in accordance with zoning ordinance section 4I36Z05 2024 34 Shore Drive, Foley, Factor 75. D, approve an ordinance authorizing the sale by online auction of personal property owned by the Village of Burr Ridge. That takes us to 8, considerations. B, approval to direct staff to prepare an ordinance denying a request for variations. V03-2025, 6500 Elm Street, Ronte. C, approval of Mayor Grasso's, of my nomination to appoint certain individuals to the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee. D, approval of award of contract for purchase of a Caterpillar backhoe loader from Altifer Industries, Inc. of Elmhurst, Illinois, in the total amount of $130,910. E, approval of award for a 4-year contract for fire hydrant maintenance and flow capacity testing with M.E. Simpson Company, Inc. of Valparaiso, Indiana, in the total amount of $195,000. F, approval of an employment contract between the Village of Burr Ridge and Teamsters Local 700 police officers. G, receive and file separation notice of police officer Robert Dumitru. H, approval of vendor list dated June 23, 2025 for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $44,805.68 for all funds, for a grand total of $44,805.68. I, approval of vendor list dated June 23, 2025 for fiscal year 2026 in the amount of $656,694.31 for all funds, plus $249,618.87 for the payroll period ending June 7, 2025 for a grand total of $906,313.18. J, approval of vendor list dated July 14, 2025 for fiscal year 2026 in the amount of $893,033.08 for all funds, plus $272,990.02 for payroll period ending June 21, 2025 for a grand total of $1,166,023.10. With that, can I get a motion to approve the following items on the consent agenda? 5, A, B, and C. 6, C and D. 8, B through J.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion at the board level? Any questions or discussion from the public? Roll call, please.
Trustee Snyder? Yes. Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
4-0.
4-0. That motion, the omnibus consent agenda motion passes. Takes us to item 6A, ordinances. Consideration of an ordinance amending section 3511-1512 and 3511-1600 of chapter 35 motor vehicles of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code, rules of the road regarding bicycles, e-bicycles, electronic scooters, and motorized play vehicles. Evan?
Thank you, Mayor. It'll be Chief and I jointly presenting this tonight. So briefly, on March 10th, the board approved an ordinance establishing some basic regulations regarding bikes, e-bikes, scooters, and motorized play vehicles, and effectively ban them all but bikes and e-bikes on public roads. So nothing allowed on public sidewalks, shared use paths, things like that. E-scooters are prohibited on public roads subject to state law, and then motorized play vehicles are also prohibited on public roads, sidewalks, and shared use paths. As a refresher, motorized play vehicles are simply anything that is not a bike or a scooter. So a dirt bike, certain other things that kids might play with and the like. You also directed us to begin a program of education to enforce these laws accordingly. Recently, staff was directed to return this ordinance for further refinement and additional direction regarding enforcement procedures. We have started with the following feedback from the board, and this is not universal. It can be changed to your direction. These are just things that staff has heard the board give us feedback on offline. So the first would be the addition of a driver's license requirement to operate a class 1 or 2, 3 e-bike. There are 3 classes in the state of Illinois. You would have to have a driver's license requirement to operate them on our streets pursuant to our code and state law. There would also be a universal imposition of a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit for class 1, 2, or 3 e-bikes. We've heard this from the board, but we've also seen this through best practices from other communities who have opted to take this approach to try and quell speeding issues. There's also a section which exempts certain classes of vehicles from the municipal code, i.e. basically anything that is there for helping people with accessibility issues like motorized wheelchairs, personalized mobility devices. These things are generally not considered to be part of the motorized play vehicles, and thus they're recommended for exemption tonight. There's also some other minor things, but they really won't be too applicable to the general public. Chief's here tonight. She's been doing a lot of research regarding methods for enforcement, our enforcement measures to date. Again, tonight the idea is to give further direction regarding the ordinance itself in compliance with state law, specifically our non-home rule status, as well as any direction regarding enforcement itself. Mayor, I yield back.
Thank you. Chief? Floor is
Thank
yours.
you. We did start this campaign with very generous warnings given to a lot of people. In the instances where repeat offenders have become known to us, they've gotten citations. There's been a lot of calls to parents. The gist of the enforcement for us, though, and the gist of the crux of the complaints tend to be focused around the village center, cutting through Chase more. And our issue with enforcement or in and around the village center is that's private property. So the difference between us and, say, Hinsdale, who has a lot of downtown enforcement, that's public property, and they've been very successful at disallowing the use in their downtown area. We have an agreement with the village center to enforce traffic violations on the main strip, but not on the sidewalks or the parking garages where the majority of these violations are occurring. Just to give you an idea of the scope of the issue, in 2022, we received 14 bike complaints. In 23, 19, 2024, 31, and then the end of 24, Christmas must have been very good for people because to date, 78 this year. Of those, we get a call or we see them, 51 have gone before we get there. 21 have gotten warnings, and we've given 3 citations so far. In addition to that, 3, which is very concerning to us, 3 have fled upon seeing us. We won't give chase on that. We're not going to contribute to an accident happening because of our enforcement efforts. So we're getting a lot of complaints. We're issuing a lot of warnings. We're stepping up the enforcement of the issue. But we're also looking for more direction. If you want more action taken, we'll do what you want.
What more, so let me start out, Chief. Thank you very much. I think this is a concern of everyone. Probably all of us have had situations where we have seen exactly what the chief has described. Janet and I are on e-bikes fairly often, and it's funny at first, but we've gotten passed up at tremendous speed by people. It's hard to judge ages for me anymore, but it can't be more than 11, 12, 13-year-old kids, often without helmets, often without any protective gear on them at all. So This is a concern. It's not only in Burr Ridge. Hinsdale is addressing it, Willowbrook's addressing it, Darien's addressing it. Many municipalities are addressing it. So what more can we reasonably do? I don't think the board, I certainly don't want you chasing or your officers chasing. We have insurance issues over that, and of course, to your point, we don't want to see anybody else hurt as a result of chasing. There's been a suggestion, maybe we should give you or your officers a motorcycle or two to enforce this. I understand why that might be a suggestion. I don't think that's a very necessary, because we don't want the chasing going on, but any idea, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, Chief, anything more that you want us to tell you that could be good, or we have to just be vigilant and get the parents involved?
That's part of it. The community as well. I did receive information from a certain subdivision that took matters, I don't want to say into their own hands, but addressed the complaint with their resident in their subdivision, saying, hey, your kids are continuously doing this. Please, speak to them about it. So there is that. Coming up in the fall, when school starts again, we'll be participating with them in an education campaign at the school level. We've done bike rodeos with Elm School. We look to do more of that. The part of what I said about the complaints that we're getting is there tends to be a core group that continuously gets called upon. And they're traveling through that corridor to get to the Village Center and to Lifetime Fitness, and we focus our attention there. While I would never turn down the opportunity to have a motorcycle unit to solve this issue, it wouldn't be good for that, because these motorcycles can't go on the pathways, can't go to places that these they can cut across sidewalks, and motorcycles can't go there. Motorcycles would be great for traffic enforcement and another issue we have in town, which is speeding, but we'll get to that later. It's education, it's the community taking action, it's people realizing. One call we got after repeated violations and citations was from a father who says, I don't know what to do. Should I take these away from him? I said, well, you never should have got them in the first place, but absolutely take them away. We can't tell you, how to raise your kids. We can only enforce what's on the books for us. So we'll continue to do that. And if anybody has any other ideas, I've talked to Hinsdale, I've talked to Clarendon Hills, I've talked to Darien. They're in the same predicament we're in. The difference with us is we have local adjudication for things that we can send here, which is not as harsh as what Hinsdale is doing, which is sending them to DuPage County and traffic court. So somebody who gets a traffic violation in Hinsdale and gets sent to traffic court, that has the potential to affect their ability to get a license when they turn 16. If they're 16 or older, it has that same effect on them, but it's a moving violation.
Should we be speaking to the Village Center? Do you want more authority down there? Do you know if the Village Center has asked? I was there yesterday, which I will talk about later, the Festive Ferrari, which was a great event. And I did see that they have A-frame signs out saying no electric bikes all along the, at least a few blocks that I was walking. But is there more that we should be getting the Village Center to give us authority to do?
If they wanted to expand, and I would leave that to our council, like we have certain agreements with private subdivisions to enforce traffic laws in the subdivision, they can grant us as much or as little leeway as they want to enforce those. So right now, all we have is if we get a complaint that we find the kids in the Village Center, we tell them they're trespassing and the Village Center doesn't want them there. So we'll give them trespass warnings.
Can you get their identity so that a call can be made to their parents?
Yeah, and when we do that, we notify the parents and we send a letter home.
Okay.
But as I said earlier, the majority of the complaints are in the parking garage and along the sidewalks. So if they expanded our agreement to allow enforcement on the sidewalks and in the parking garage. We at least have the standing to issue citations. I don't know that our citation level would increase, but certainly we'd have the opportunity to stop them where they are committing the violations.
Is there some reason why we shouldn't be asking the village center?
I'd like to go back to the Burr Center, like they want us to do all this stuff. If they want us to do, give us full expansion, give us authority. Otherwise, don't go to them at all. Here, you can't have it both ways. You can't call me up and run me over there. I can't do anything. Give me the parking garage as well as the sidewalks.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue if they don't want it. I think it's just a case of have we brought the idea up, and there'll be mutual interest
Then
in
when
that.
we're cutting through Chase, don't worry, many of the facilities, don't we have the cameras to protect the village? You know, there are safety, so some of these kids that are driving, they're entering in and out also. Can we pick them up on any of the cameras? We know who they are.
Yeah.
It's the same group of individuals. So if we catch a camera, then we can say, hey, by the way, we've seen your son, we've seen your daughter. Here's what's gonna happen next. Next time we catch them, whether we don't catch them or not, we're gonna send you a fine anyway.
All right. We have the mechanism in place for that where we can write the parents for parental responsibility. We haven't had to go that far yet, but it exists.
But you've like almost more than doubled the number of incidents.
Yeah, just this
It's like,
year.
you know, this year we're not even done.
And I'm fine with
Set an
you making an
example.
example
Right.
of any particular parents where the kids have been chronic violators. I mean, the supervision of this starts at home, not,
Not by
Fine.
us.
we're not in the teenage supervision business. We're being forced to do this. And I think the parents should be held accountable and if necessary, publicly, put before the ordinance court, let the administrative judge handle it. But I think we have to get the message out within reason that we're serious about this. This isn't, there's been one accident reported, I think in Naperville or somewhere, not that Naperville is a dangerous place, but somebody hit somebody. And you know who's gonna get blamed? It's gonna be the driver and it's gonna be the municipality. And these parents are not gonna take it upon themselves to be responsible. And they have to be responsible for their children.
And I like the fact that you brought up that after an incident, notify that the child has to go to court. Maybe he doesn't get a license at 16, maybe it has to be 18 then.
Right.
Give him the warning, put the stamp right behind it. Listen, you get second time. If you go to court, guess what?
And when we issue a citation, and again, that's been a low number so far, but when they get the citation, obviously they have to come with a parent to court.
Yep.
Do the cameras help you at all, like catching some of these? If they're going and they're leaving and they're running, you know when they're coming and going.
The new cameras that are in process of being completed at the Village Center that we entered into, the business district cameras, should help. We haven't had to use them for that yet. The LPR license plate recognition cameras won't pick up
Okay, thank you.
low-speed person riding like that.
What about Chasemore? Chasemore has been, I did get an email or two. John Nitty sent a letter in, a well-written letter. They're concerned too that there's more and more of these e-bikes running through Chasemore. Are you seeing evidence of that?
We've received more complaints since the existence of the e-bikes and the travel through to get to the Village Center in Lifetime.
So are we going
But-
to,
I want to be clear, not every call is a complaint of a violation. It's a call of those e-bikes are driving through again.
concern?
Yes.
Okay. Well, are we doing more surveillance in Chasemore in particular? or-
They,
Trying.
Since the implementation of the time restrictions and the speed limit and the no trucks, yes, we've been in there a lot.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the place to start making some examples of some of the parents. Because we do have to address this. Yes, Al?
Well, there was an article in the Sunday paper, a pretty good article about e-bikes and scooters. And the thing that, looked at it, I know we're looking at it, and it is a problem, and if we don't do something, it could get worse. But there's a lot of villages that are having the same problems, how to control this and how to bring it under control.
Do we need to do anything to the ordinance to stiffen it up at all?
So I think that's a question of art. These are feedbacks that the board, some of the board members have given me directly. So these are obviously the suggestions of some. I'm going to let you guys identify yourselves if you would like. I think these would help drive home the sincerity of what we think is the board's tenor on the matter. We've also got a website up, and I'll just pull it up real quick. Real easy. So community e-bikes and scooter guidelines. Is your vehicle allowed? Select your vehicle. So let's say I'm doing a scooter and I'd like to ride it on the street. Nope, not allowed. I know we've gotten the suggestion, and Trustee Francis had the suggestion of adding pictures to this section or something to the effect, and pictures if you'd like to talk about those. But this is something that our analysts put together to help just provide a guidance as we continue to educate the community. I don't think everybody knows what we mean by when we say e-bike or the like, so we're building this out. But I would feel comfortable putting these in place just because they give us just a little bit more belt and suspenders. They help pretty much guarantee that it'll be older people riding these bikes and these scooters, and it'll help control speed. So even if you're not technically going in an unsafe manner, if you're going 30, that could be, I think everybody's agreeing that that's probably too fast for these types of things.
So the 3 bullet points,
These are the suggestions, and I can
Yes.
show you the ordinance if you'd like.
no, I don't need to see, unless one of the trustees wants to, but all 3 of those seem appropriate to me. Does anybody want to, do we already have the age 16 limit? I think we should have that.
There's an age 16 limit in the state statute for the Class 3 e-bikes. It's silent on 1 and 2. So,
How fast can the 1 and 2s go? Does anybody
20.
know the answer to that?
Above
20 miles an hour.
20.
Well, what's the, yeah, I know there's a different, but the speed is what concerns me.
1 and 2 are programmed to go 20 miles an hour, and 3 can go up to 28.
Yeah. I don't see why there should be a distinction if we're legally allowed to keep it all 16. Yes, Guy?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few questions of the chief and then some additional comments. So of all these warnings and citations that were issued, were the parents notified in each and every case?
Certainly with the citations, and I think most of the warnings, when I was reading today, I didn't read every single warning, but there were instances where the parent came and got the kid, or made arrangements to have the kid walk the bike home.
Okay. So, and how do you notify the parents? You said by letter?
Phone, no, phone.
Phone, thank you. I did notice at the Village Center, I think we should enter in a more broad agreement with the Village Center to allow enforcement of this in the Village Center. I did notice in the north elevator on the 3rd floor, there are skid marks inside the pedestrian area, inside the elevator, where you stand and wait for the elevator doors to open. There's bicycle skid marks in there. Now, I don't know if they're from an e-bike or not, but anyway, could be. Mayor, there's a distinction between 16-year-old minimum age and having a valid driver's license. I think we should stress for having a valid driver's license for e-bike operators, because they know and have been instructed in the rules of the road, the proper rules of the road in the state of Illinois, and they've passed that knowledge by examination to get their driver's license. They also should obey the rules of the road. That's a distinction that was made in another ordinance that I read in another town. Also, there should be no inattentive operation, meaning no texting while you're riding your e-bike, or no reckless operation, no wheelies or wheel standing, or which I've seen in my subdivision, passing a car on the wrong side of the road. Another ordinance, another town, that they limited the roadways which the e-bikes could be operated on by the speed limit of that roadway. For example, they restricted the e-bikes to be operated on roadways having a speed limit of 35 miles an hour and less. Well, we could do something similar. I mean, we're restricting these to 20 miles an hour, these e-bikes. Well, why don't we restrict them to roadways that are 25 miles an hour or less, as an example. That'll keep them off of County Line Road, Wolf Road, Madison, Plainfield Road, 79th Street, 87th Street, 91st Street, where if they are operating at 20 miles an hour, they would become a hazard. They would be in the way of cars and maybe an impatient driver, again, putting that child at risk. Also, we should suggest proper and safe lighting on these bikes, and that the lights be operated at nighttime. The visual references that I suggested. Evan, could you pull those up, please? This makes it crystal clear to me. One picture is worth 1,000 words. Here's an e-bike, and here's an e-scooter. Okay, this is from another town. And the next one, please. These are motorized play vehicles that aren't allowed anywhere in the village except on private property. And finally, the last picture, this is a child's toy. This is something we're not prohibiting. Certainly a parent could take this with a child on a sidewalk somewhere. I certainly wouldn't want to take this on a street because they don't go very fast. And you can see the child is probably under 5. So I wouldn't want to be operating this on the street. This is a Barbie car. And we're not trying to prohibit our parents from buying these and letting their children enjoy these. So this would be an exception, I think. So those are my comments for right now. Thank you.
Anyone else? So how does everyone feel about not saying 16, but having a valid driver's license?
I like the driver's license. It gives you a criteria and a document that they have to
So
carry.
if someone has a permit, are they allowed?
No.
It's a valid, I'm just asking,
I
I'm
didn't know.
just trying to play devil's advocate a little bit. Okay, so driver's license. Okay, the 20 mile an hour or less places, so let's think that one through a little bit. Now, the obvious streets, you don't want them on County Line Road and Madison and Wolf, but are there streets at 25 miles an hour? I mean, isn't the, if not posted, the speed limit in Burr Ridge is 25, right?
30.
30.
I think if the street has a traffic light, then it's not a good idea because those are usually the streets with higher speed
Traffic lights.
limits.
I want to address speed first.
The only thing I would add, and whatever you guys decide on the e-bikes, but a regular bicycle can ride on County Line Road, can ride on Madison, can ride on.
I think that was my question was, I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask Mike, I'm pretty sure state law permits e-bikes and bikes on public roads
Yes.
with some obvious caveats of safety, but only trying to illustrate that I don't think we can pick and choose public roads per state law.
Right, we are not home rule, so we can't exceed the state law. That's my
That's
understanding.
correct.
That's correct,
That is
right?
correct, yes, sir.
So we can't say no County Line Road if County Line Road is allowed.
And I think that was the
We
thinking
can't
behind the
say
speed
that
limit.
these e-bikes can't be operated on roadways with speed limits at 30 miles an hour and above? At 35 miles an hour, we
I'd
can't say
say
that?
35 miles.
I don't think we can as a non-home rule community. I
Okay.
think home rule communities could do that.
Can.
We are not
Okay.
one. So Willowbrook could do it. Darien and us, we could not. Hinsdale, I think they're non-home rule, they cannot. So it's one of the downsides of being a non-home rule, again, one of the many downsides of being non-home rule, is that we are restricted to what the state tells us we can and cannot do. Even if we think it's better in our community, because we know our community, I'm making a little speech about home rule right now. We know what's better for our own residents and our own businesses,
Right.
but we can't do it.
Okay.
I'm very sympathetic to what you're saying.
Well, we're stretching to require driver's licenses and the 20 mile an hour speed limit on a 35 mile an hour. But if we want to make that stretch, we'll try to justify it, so.
So what are you saying, Mike? I don't mind making a stretch, and then if it's challenged, it's challenged, and we'll defend it.
That's correct.
So
I mean, I'll just say this, we found a lot of this language from other non-home rule communities. Itasca was one we used that put some of this in. So I feel confident in what I've written down in
Yeah,
consultation with
we're
yourself.
not alone
Council.
in this.
Yeah. These are not
struggle.
original ideas, I guess is the.
All right, so these 3 bullet points, Mike, you think we're on pretty good ground, even though maybe it's not strictly in accordance with state law?
Yeah, like I said earlier, the class 3, clearly the state regulates the class 3 and how old you have to be, and you're just taking it a step further and saying 16, you can qualify for a driver's license, and you want a driver's license. The 1 and the 2 is a stretch, but it makes no sense to let somebody operate on a street with a class 1 or class 2 vehicle going 20 miles an hour, which is gonna be your maximum speed, and then not regulating who can do that. So you don't want a 10-year-old doing that.
No.
And the state law says an age for only class 3, not a 1 or a 2. So in the state, the General Assembly's eyes, they were going to allow that. So I believe we will come up with an argument that we can regulate the public right-of-way under our police powers, and this is the manner that we're doing it in. As Evan pointed out, there's other municipalities that are non-home rule that are taking these steps. You got to act because the General Assembly is not.
Right, once again. So should we can I get a motion to direct staff to amend the ordinance for presentation at the next meeting for the addition of a driver's license requirement to operate a class 1, 2, or 3?
This is already prepared if you want to approve it.
Yeah, that's
Go
what
ahead.
Okay.
the draft is.
So this is all in there, and so can I get a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further comment at the board level? Yes.
Is there any consideration for my comments about obeying the rules of the road, or proper lighting, or proper and safe operation, undistracted operation, no more than 1 person on an e-bike?
The chief wants to speak
That's
on-
already in the
Yeah.
law,
I would think
those laws
that's,
exist.
In which law?
Yeah,
in the bicycle
State.
laws, in the state bicycle laws.
but can we emphasize it in our ordinance?
sure, you
I
can
don't
add
see-
that,
yeah,
yes.
That's a good idea.
Well, why don't we emphasize?
I mean,
so we
texting
can-
is prohibited while you're operating any motor vehicle. But if you want to be able to charge somebody under a local ordinance violation, you would need to add it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
let's
Let's add
put
it.
it in there. It's consistent, so can I get an amended motion to pass the ordinance with the additions that trustee Francis suggested?
Second.
Okay, a motion is second. Any further comment from the?
Well, there was a suggestion about the roadways, 25 miles, I thought you said.
Yeah, you mentioned
But we've discussed that and
can't do that.
said we're not doing that.
Right.
So
We're not doing that.
excluding that one.
Excluding that one. So we have a motion and a second. You two are okay with amending it accordingly, so we have a motion and a second. Any other comment from the board? Any comment or question from the public? Yes, come on up. Right there, the chief will give you the microphone.
So I think most of us, good evening, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to
You
address
can
to
move
you,
that
but
if it, just
All
don't
right.
let it attack you.
Your
that's
name,
all.
please?
my name is Faiza Coleman Salako,
You might have to spell that.
Yes, yeah.
Faiza, last name Coleman hyphen Salako. Would you
Thank you
like
very
my
much.
address? Oh, okay. So I've lived in Burr Ridge for over 10 years now, and I am representing the cyclist community, also a parent. And I've always wondered what could make Burr Ridge more appealing, the property values, all of that for young families. And as the rest of the world is trying to adopt more car-free, car-light lifestyles, it seems curious that Burbridge wants to crack down on the leading way that we're doing that. Also, most of us are old enough to remember a time when kids could go out and be free and play with their friends, unattended sometimes, and our children can't do that anymore. So they're stuck inside gaming. They're becoming very unhealthy. And the beauty of these e-bikes is it allows them to not stay in one place loiter too long. It also allows them to be able to get away when there's a threat of danger. So I just wanted to bring that up. There's nothing about a driver's license that would make that child or that young adult a better operator of an e-bike. What would be better is if there were some kind of free education class required for every child or every young adult under the licensing age to be able to have a class and some education. And that way, we would know that they knew the rules of the road and they knew all of the ordinances here in Burr Ridge. Very few people are going to take the time to go on a website to say, what can't I do in this particular area? Because we're all over. The last point that I wanted to make, besides there being a step between citation and taking them to court or the county or requiring a lot of things that are pretty much prohibitive, besides the education, it's just making Burr Ridge a more friendly place for cyclists and for families who have young children. We are nowhere to be found on the top neighborhoods, or actually Burr Ridge is not listed at all on the People for Bikes listing for the state of Illinois, rating cities. None of those sites is Burr Ridge listed, to say that this is a place that cyclists and people who want to be healthy and people who want to move their bodies in a safe way would want to live. So I just wanted to register those comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone, one second. Anyone else from the public want to comment? Trustee Snyder?
I love that, what you'd said, and that's correct. I remember when my father got me my first motorcycle when I was in 8th grade. He didn't let me ride it until he told me what I can and what I can't do. And I think today, as Trustee Francis and the rest of the board has went, it's not a section of 1 or 2 or 3. It's the other individuals, the parents that don't take time. They hand the child whatever they wish. Okay, now go away. That's not fair to the rest of us in this room. And so we're trying, if we can't get the parents to be involved, obviously you're a parent that's involved and want to help all of us, which is fantastic, but it's the ones that won't. So how do we protect the whole against the few? So that's, I understand your frustration, but it's the same token as the individuals who want some help. We can't do anything sitting here without the chief and his team.
Yeah, and we all grew up on bicycles. We're not going to discourage people to have bicycles, the old traditional way to get around. And certainly we want kids to be on their bicycles. But this is now a vehicle and vehicles that are moving at considerable speed. And they present a danger that communities did not see or address 10 or 15 years ago even. So nobody wants to discourage cycling, but this e-biking has to have some guardrails, and I think these are reasonable guardrails for that. Yes?
Bill Voigt, Burr Ridge. Just really a question, because we're talking about e-bikes here, but also those the scooters.
Yes.
Well, including scooters in that as well?
Those are prohibited.
Electric scooters.
Electric scooters are prohibited.
Prohibited anywhere in the village?
That's correct.
Oh,
The state law allows municipalities to authorize or not authorize the use of those.
all right, so they're already out. Okay,
By the current ordinance, yes.
okay, that was my
But
question.
somebody can pedal a scooter on a sidewalk, I think.
Yep.
So,
So again, the old-fashioned way, the Flintstone way, I would say. But not moving at a high rate of speed by
Because they're-
someone who
there's-
doesn't necessarily know how to handle that.
Yeah, they're so common around. I'm surprised. I'm glad to see it, actually, but I am surprised. I thought you might get a lot.
Now it's enforcement, now it's a
There
little
you go.
pushback, but
Thank you.
that's part of why we're up here.
Yep.
Thank you, yes.
I'm Barbara Annison. I live in Chasemore. There's cameras at the beginning and the end of Chasemore Drive, and someone brought that up earlier about the cameras, and can you identify some of these? The big concern that I have as a resident there, my kitchen window faces that road, and at all hours in the evening, especially when there's no lights, there is a boy who is popping wheelies all the way down Chasemore. And I'm sure it's probably really fun. It's a curvy road, but someone's going to get hurt. I think a child is going to get hurt. So is there a way for us to use those cameras to identify, you said we kind of know who these kids are. They seem like it's a group of kids. It's the same group of kids. Could we identify them using the cameras just to warn them or warn their parents? Because it happens at night. I'm walking my dog at night. I see this boy that's doing this down the middle of Chasemore Drive. It's not well lit there. You probably know that. It's pretty, but it's not well lit. So, and those cars that I have other speed issues on Chasemore Drive, which we're not talking about, but because there's cars coming very quickly from the restaurants and things like that, 10:30 at night, this boy, I see him coming through, which is probably after curfew, but in any event, I think the cameras might be a way to have us help look at that. The other thing that happens in Chasemore that I've shared with Bill Nitty, and he might have shared this with you, is that we have these electric vehicles coming up on the sidewalk, then back down into the street and back and forth. You've got a lot of older people that are either walking by themselves, walking dogs. There's more older people walking strollers with little kids in them, and that is very dangerous when they're coming from the street to the sidewalk and back and forth, and on the back pathway. And anytime if you ever say anything to someone, these kids are like, this doesn't apply to them at all. So I don't know what more we can do, but I agree with a number of things that have been said, and I think you're right. The parents are really the issue here that need to be informed, but it's getting very dangerous, especially on Chasemore Drive, so thank you.
Right, you're welcome. And I have said some things, and I have gotten some gestures that I recognize, and was surprised that someone of that tender age knew those gestures. Yes.
I just have to agree with Barbara, because I live in Chasemore too, that it's getting dangerous to just walk
So
around.
can we use the cameras at all? Are the cameras are able to identify, at least so that we know this is Johnny and he's doing it all the time, and we can find his parents and
Maybe.
let them know?
They exist, and if they're on the video, then we can take a look and see if we can identify them, but probably. But I don't want to say 100% for sure.
Oh,
It depends
no,
on
there's-
where they're
but-
coming in.
But I think we
what
have to
angle.
start looking at
It'll
those.
get better.
And
It'll get
and if
better
you
with-
see someone and it happened around this, make a note, let us know, and then we can look at that day and about that time, and maybe we will save a life or two.
Especially past curfew.
Yeah.
Well, operating an e-bike on a bicycle is prohibited. So operating an e-bike on a sidewalk
Right.
is prohibited. So, and that's under the current ordinance. So they shouldn't be riding e-bikes on sidewalks where pedestrians are, so.
And I should add, because they're not here tonight, but they did weigh in, both trustee Schiappa and trustee Smith are of like mind. They might want a little bit more than the law allows us to do, but they're certainly of like mind if they were here tonight. So with that, if there's no more comment, we have a motion and a second, and the record would indicate the contents of that motion. And if there's no further comment, can I have roll call, please?
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
4-0.
4-0, the motion passes. Thank you. Very good discussion. Thank you, Chief. Takes us to 6B, consideration of an ordinance amending section 25.09 of chapter 25 entitled Liquor Control of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code. Evan?
Thank you, Mayor. Very simple ordinance here. Lifetime Fitness recently bought Five Seasons Sports Club. Five Seasons currently had a liquor license. What this is going to do is it's going to take away Five Seasons, and it will create a license in like for Lifetime to pick up, therefore continuing the liquor service.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay, can I get a motion to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 25.09 of Chapter 25 entitled Liquor Control of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code?
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further comment at the board level? Any questions or comment from the public? Roll call, please.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
4-0.
4-0, the motion passes. Takes us to 7, resolutions. Consideration of a resolution approving the use of Class 6B property tax incentive abatement for a property located at 144 Tower Drive in the village of Burr Ridge. Evan?
Thank you, Mayor. As stated, this is a resolution for a municipal support of a Cook County 6B's tax incentive for 144 Tower Drive, located over on the Cook County side of the village. So Class 6B is a classification designed to encourage industrial development that is set up by Cook County. So this is not our incentive, this is Cook County's incentive. However, to even be eligible to get the incentive from Cook County, the municipality where the building or the property is located must have our support. And that's what this resolution would theoretically do if it were approved. The 6B effectively lowers your assessment from 25% to 10%. To make it even simpler, what that means is it lowers your property taxes by about 60% for 10 years, by half for another year, and then by about a third for a 12th year. So it's a very significant property tax incentive if you're able to get one. This property already has a 6B incentive, and so this is an extension to an existing 6B. It's actually had 2 already. This will be the 3rd extension to it at this point. So very simply, in the case of 6B incentives, the loss of the property tax revenue is made up by the rest of the property tax pool. That's business owners, property owners, residences, et cetera. So it's everybody in the tax pool. So as I write here in my example, if you had a tax pool of 1,000 properties, which provided $1 million in total annual property tax revenue, this would mean every property provides $1,000 in property tax revenue. If one property received a 6B for 10 years, reducing their assessment by 60%, they'd only pay $400 every year instead of $1,000. The assessor still needs to raise the $1 million because that's what the taxing bodies, such as the village, schools, parks, et cetera, have requested. All the other properties, the 999 properties, would pay an extra $1 per year. So that money doesn't go away. It's made up by the pool of properties in a property tax area. In its application, the owner, through Ryan, their petitioner, states that their annual property tax liability would increase from about $77,000 last year to $350,000 in about 10 years if the incentive were not approved. So again, as you can see, pretty precipitous drop in property taxes thanks to that 6B application. Due to the timing of the application period, the property owner needs to deliver an approved resolution to the county by July 16th, which is Wednesday. So pretty much this is the only opportunity for this to occur. If you were to take action, yes, then we would provide him that resolution. If you were to not take action or vote it down, then the petition's effectively ended. The EDC reviewed this request at its June 11th meeting, and it recommended a petition be supported 4-1. In making its affirmative determination, the EDC broadly cited a desire to provide tax relief whenever possible. I will speak for the lone dissenting vote, and that was simply a principled vote to say that they've had their 6B and they don't need it anymore, in summary. Again, if approved, this would be the second 6B extension at 144 Tower Drive. We've approved 4 total 6B incentives for properties, so this is one. The last one we did was 2019 for Midwest Associates at 101 Tower Drive. They provided 75 white-collar jobs, and they had a significant tourism and sales driver to the village. Their main thing is they sell very high dollar amount medical equipment, which is a high sales tax provider for the village. Our incentive policy is attached along with Plymouth's application. I see, Sean, are you here tonight? Yeah, you are here. I see you. I'll be here to answer any questions you may have. This person is from Ryan. He's representing the petitioner for the property owner, so he's like an architect for the Plan Commission. But I'll be here to answer any questions you have.
Okay, let's start with any questions from any of the trustees? Okay, I guess I have one. Why? Why do you need it any further? The Cook County Board puts a limit on it for a reason. Why do you still need it?
Yeah, so just a quick introduction, Sean King. And with Ryan, we represent the owner of the building. From their perspective, they've got 2 pretty long-standing tenants at the property, Hydrostop and Worldpac. They're both up for renewal on their leases in 2026. Their position is they're going to have a hard time renewing and keeping this building occupied and paying the property taxes that they currently are without some assistance. The taxes on the building will go from, as Evan mentioned, they're about 77,000. This incentive comes off. They're going to jump up to close to 200,000 within the next 2 years. So it's a competitive standpoint. The ownership is committed to putting in over $750,000 in improvements in the building. They're going to redo the parking lot. They're going to redo the HVAC. They're going to redo the roof. So they're committed to spending money to improve the property, very open to seeking Burr Ridge businesses in that endeavor. Previously, there's a company, the name escapes me, but they have worked with Burr Ridge companies before. The last time they did tenant improvements in the building, they brought in a Burr Ridge company. So they're committed to the community. It's an opportunity for them to remain competitive in leasing the building.
Have we heard anything in opposition from any of the other property owners?
No public comment was submitted.
And does a notice go out to them that this is being sought under law, right? Neighbors have to be told. Mike? Do the neighbors have to be told on this?
I
They don't have to be
that
told.
there's no requirement to notify.
We still do outreach. Again, it's like anything else. We're required by law to do like 200 feet for the plan commission, but we always do more. Again, it's about making sure everyone's aware, but again, we heard no public comment.
So we did give people a chance to comment, and they did not. Okay. Yes, Joe.
So in the last 12 years, or the amount of time, what has the owners done to the building? You've had the tax break for 10 years or 12 years. I mean, now you're gonna wait till the end of the 12 years. Oh, by the way, now I'm gonna make my improvements and I need another tax break. So what have you done for me for the last 12 years? I gave you a break.
Well, it is a renewal. I agree with you on that, but they've just been a long, this particular owner, think about this, particular owner has only had the building for about 5 years. So these original incentives that we're referencing were granted for different ownership. So they haven't had as much time, but they have spent money on this property, and they're intending to spend a significant amount of money go forward.
Being in the position that you are, you've seen people who've bought and sold properties. So when they purchased that property 5 years ago, they knew that the incentives were gonna come off. So they did not reach out or do anything at that time to like hey, I'm getting this advantage. And I'm sure they got a good advantage when they purchased the property because they know those incentives are coming off. So while you're asking for it, I'm just asking, so for 12 years, nothing's done. The owner sold the property at a reasonable profit. Someone bought it at a significant discount. And so this is a village. I'm just curious.
Well, as far as reaching out to the community upon purchase, I mean, these 6B rules are pretty specific. You can't even engage with a request for a renewal until you're in year 10 of the incentive. So that's timing-wise while we're here. In their time here, they have spent money. They redid the tenant improvements in the property.
Problem is, we can't do, if we approve it, it's another 12 years, right?
I mean, at this point, it'd be the next 2 plus 12 years. So you're looking at 14 additional years of not market rate assessment.
And we're getting it tonight?
So when they negotiated, they probably negotiated saying, well, you know, this comes off in 5 years, so we want a lower price. And now you're coming in going, now we're gonna invest in the property if you give us this, I mean.
If we're not, if we don't do it, we're
Yeah,
not gonna do it.
which side of the mouth are we talking out of today? Right. I don't know, and the last minute coming in, it's either today or it's dead, right? So give us a little time, so where's the due diligence on your part, not your part, sir,
Yeah.
but on your client's part?
Well, keep in mind too, again, they're gonna try to lease this building no matter what, but without the incentive, you get the possibility of having a vacant building here by 2026. Both these tenants, they're starting to go through lease renewals, so, you know, the taxes, $77,000 might seem low in the grand scheme of things, but they could go down pretty significantly if you got a vacant building sitting on your hands too.
Yeah, but you're also, I presume he's doing this at a profit, and you're saying, oh, it may not be leased. Well, he may not get as much of a profit. So I'm not following your logic that you need this now to lease the building. It's already leased, the lease is coming up. We don't know any terms, we don't know anything specific, we don't know if any of this is, in all candor, true. So, I mean, I want to take you at your word, and I should take you at your word, but you've given this board no lead time, no paperwork, and theory, really. This might happen, this might not happen, and we're supposed to act on that. I don't know that we have enough to act on tonight.
The mayor had asked you a question. Where was the due diligence of the owners? They knew there was a time frame. They bought the building 5 years ago. When did they hire your firm?
We've been hired for about the last 18 months with them.
So in 18 months, I'm sure that you're very good at your job. So you're going to tell the owners going, by the way, our time is ticking. We need to get this in now. Not like, oh, by the way, we're going to go on in July and say, hey, we're going to ask for forgiveness. Am I correct?
Well, we got brought in on this when we first, I would say we submitted our renewal application, and some of the questions you're asking about, as far as backup, timing of leases, things like that, that's all part of the application. We did provide all that information. We originally,
There's a fairly extensive application in there.
there's a
so
summary of all the
I will
numbers.
stipulate that there is
They
a,
send it in.
3 months ago, not 2 months ago, I just forget the timing. The question was when it was submitted. I want to say it was March or April. I just don't remember the exact timing of when it was submitted, but I'll stipulate that there is a fairly lengthy application in there.
And so Cook County is the final decision maker.
Correct.
So if we give support, or at least we're not opposed, the county decides if it's going to do this or not.
Well, as Mr. King mentioned, the rules are fairly strict on this. Traditionally, the word that we always use in economic development in the state of Illinois is the word blight. Blighted is the word that runs on everything, TIF, this, et cetera. They're going to look for, is the building vacant for 2 years? No. Will the building become vacant if we don't give it to you? Maybe. And that's what they're going to hang their hat on, is will it become blighted if we don't give you the extension? There's certain parts of the world that may live and die by that sort of extension. I don't know if Burr Ridge is one of them, though. But the only argument that, as we would call it, the findings of fact on something like this, to use a plan commission term, would be, is there a defined loss of economic benefit to the county, or is there the proposition of a lot of investment going into the building to get the 6B? I don't know if $750,000 is going to be enough. I just am not expert on it in terms of how much money it will take, but originally, when this was given, it was because the property was vacant. It was factually vacant last time. It is factually 100% leased now. And these are not arguments for or against. These are just context as to when things happened and why they did. The previous resolution was because the building sat vacant for years, we will give you an incentive. That was what the board decided last time, period.
And it worked, because now it's
Worked,
leased.
exactly.
Okay. And
Has this been done before where it's been renewed, 6B?
This is the only property in the village that has had a renewal before, and I'm pretty sure it's the only property that's even asked to renew. We don't do this that often in the village of Burr Ridge. We just don't have that much Cook County industrial property.
And then we're actually passing that on to the other tenants, right?
the other property owners.
The other property owners.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
if you asked for, if Tower Drive needed to make up $1 million and they were only paying 40% of their rate, then everybody else on Tower Drive
Right.
in principle
So
has to make it up.
what if they come up with, they oppose it, or they have,
But they didn't. Now, if we did give reasonable notice to the neighbors, and they're not in here protesting, then I kind of side with him a bit, because
yeah.
no one's barking about it. And,
We didn't notify anyone, though. We didn't have to. They were.
but we do.
We called around.
Plan commission does.
We know,
Plan got a hearing.
we know pretty much everybody who works over there, and we know who to call, and we do that. We extend that courtesy. Everyone pretty much didn't respond for the most part. But again, I think I'll play devil's advocate here and just say that It's a fairly technical process, and I don't think people want to get involved in the economics of somebody else's property ownership, so I could understand why someone might not want to get involved.
But does it start well, if they've got it, why don't we? get it?
That's exactly my
Certainly could.
question. We don't want to start a precedence here, or a set of precedents.
There are some vacant buildings over there that could certainly qualify for this, 100%.
But then it ends up being Cook County's call, not ours. Right?
Correct. All we are is the
It's always
binary.
Cook County's final
Right.
call.
All we are is binary up or down in terms of
Alright.
the resolution.
So, in the interest of keeping businesses in Burr Ridge, although I don't like 6B because it's based on blightedness, potential blightedness, maybe we do it again because it's already happened once before, but anybody have another comment? Yep.
Well, clarification, please. You had mentioned that if the assessment of it is kept artificially low on this property, and all the other property owners, did you say on Tower Drive or in Cook County would be asked to make up the difference?
I'm sorry, I was only using a vagary term there. So we'll call it within the taxing pool, not just on Tower Drive. I'm only using Tower Drive as a specific.
Cook County.
The village.
Well, let's just say,
Village.
School
let's use LTHS just as an example for us all locally. LT is drawing from all the properties within their taxing boundary. If they were to receive a 60% discount, all the other property, when they pay into LT, everybody else has to make that up for LT.
Okay, it was alluded to the other properties on Tower Drive would be asked to make it up, and I don't believe that's correct.
They'd be part of the boundary. They
It would be
certainly
part of it,
but
there's
not all.
many other properties as well.
That was a bad example then, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
thank you. I'm looking here at a listing on a computer here from Midwest MWI Property Group, and they talk about, for 144 Tower Drive, secured the challenging municipal approval of a Class 6B property tax incentive, effectively cutting the taxes by 50% over 12 years. Is the owner Midwest MWI Property Group?
What was the question?
Is the owner of this property MWI Property Group?
No, it's not. The entity name is Plymouth.
Plymouth, okay, Plymouth LLC, okay.
Plymouth Real Estate is the owner of the true owner.
Because it talks about buying a vacant building, renovating it, and securing 2 long-term tenants, which is the 2 long-term tenants we're talking about. So I'm confused what this MWI Property Group is and how they're marketing their efforts for 144 Tower Drive. But okay, thank you.
I think that's the previous owner, if I remember.
The previous owner?
Yeah, I think it is. I'm pretty sure about that.
So the previous owner made significant efforts and managed all facets of design, permitting, construction for the ongoing exterior and interior improvements, including demolition, spec office, and several warehouse improvements. So there's more improvements that are needed as well, correct? Okay, thank you.
And you're representing that the owner is going to make further substantial improvements if we support their petition.
Yes, and they're willing to put any of that in writing and whatever you want to see that commitment.
Well, the decision's Cook County. We're not in the property tax business, so done it in the past, and I don't like the timing of it. I don't like it being brought here without us having more time to consider it, but in the final analysis, it's up to Cook County, and it's more than just a Tower Drive buildings and commercial property, industrial property. So I'm not happy about the way it's being done, but if we're going to keep people here in Burr Ridge, then maybe we do it. And we've got a commitment that the property's going to be improved. So with that, can I get a motion to pass the resolution approving the use of Class 6B property tax incentive abatement for property located at 144 Tower Drive in the Village of Burr Ridge?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion at the board level? Any comment from the public? Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
4-0.
I agree, Mayor, but not the timing is terrible.
Right. I would go back and get an increase on your fee because your advocacy probably saved the day. This is not the way to do business with this board. Please get that message across.
Will do.
Thank you.
I'd sure love to see all that nice
Yeah, it'd be
$1 million
nice to see, nice to
$1
see a letter to the board also that your client is committing to make those improvements.
Will do.
Specific-
Okay, so I'll work with Evan on that.
Specific improvements, HVAC, exterior, interior, et cetera,
On the
not just,
parking lot like the $1
we're
million
gonna put
you
up
said.
some gingerbread and call it a day.
And we do events in Burr Ridge, and we always are looking for sponsors.
Absolutely. Businesses and owners.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that takes us to 8A, consideration of the Village Hall building. Evan and I have been working on this. I think he has also brought some of the ideas back to you, but I think tonight we're going to present something that hopefully addresses all the concerns and for a lot less money than we initially projected. The concept would be to build an attached building that would be the Village Hall that would front onto County Line Road and yet be connected to the police department. There would be some improvements to the police building itself, the Sally Port and others, and we'd get effectively a brand-new building on the campus, kind of back to the future. Remember, in 1985, the leaders of Burr Ridge voted to have come here and build this building and have the Village Hall and the police department under essentially one roof. We will go back to the future if we do this and have the Village Hall and the police department, police building on the same site. So we would also be able to let this building go and yet get a very good price for it, and not have to put the money into this building, but put it into a new building. So with that, Evan, if you want to go over the details, please.
Thank you. So, as Mayor stated, this is just an overhead of the police department and part of the Village Hall site right now. This is our June 9th concept that we presented last month. Again, this has the boardroom facing on a north-south axis. Again, north is to the right side of your screen, south is to the left. Don't forget that. This would have the Village Hall become an addition to the police department, but we're revising that concept here tonight with a bit more of the board's direction included. The main orientation is that the boardroom now becomes an east-west orientation, and then we've added a second entry for the Village Hall. The lobby that you see there in the gray, I'll move down to a slightly more tight view. The lobby you see there in the gray is a new lobby. It connects to the police lobby that you would enter right now if you were to go into the police department door. There's now going to be a second Village Hall entry down here, which is nearer the boardroom on this plan. The public window for admin Village Hall is separated from the PD window, so if someone's coming in to pay a ticket, give a report, et cetera, they're fairly well bifurcated by space, as well as having, again, as I said, the door being closer to the boardroom. We're going to show you a rendering of this outdoor area here, but this is basically a much grander entrance to Village Hall than we had previous. The thing I want to note about this building is that it's actually 800 square feet smaller than our original June 9th draft, and that's because we've taken a really hard look at how we do work here in the village, and we've made many organizational advancements over the last few years. The main one has been effectively privatizing finance. Finance effectively works remotely 3 to 4 days a week. And so what we've done is we've effectively eliminated any offices for people who are not working here 5 days a week. We've created a lot more what we call hotel offices, where you check in, get into a workstation, and work from there for the day and then go home, see you in a week. Or in certain cases, we even see people less than that. Like I think I've seen Anne Marie twice in 2 months. And that's a good thing for us because we've found better ways to work that's more nimble, more tech-focused, and so that has created a net savings of 800 square feet for the new building here, which is going to result in some savings to the village. I'm going to scroll down to the site plan. So because we've been able to make the building smaller, we've actually been able to eliminate almost all the stormwater detention that we had originally proposed or thought we needed in the June 9th plan. What this effectively does is it creates 2 new banks of parking for the staff, which is here in the back. This would be primarily police parking. And here on the south side, which would be primarily admin parking, people like myself, community development, et cetera. This also creates an opportunity to have the board park down here during board meetings or plan commissioners during board meetings, so as to leave this 30 additional spaces here open for the public at all times. One of the things that we'd like to propose to the board is that when the village hall is sold, we ask for cross easement access to park in their lot on Monday evenings. It's really the only day we have busy board meetings or plan commissions is those meetings on Mondays, and so we feel no need to propose the entire property be concrete. We control the site here, we can control how we sell it, and so as a result of not having to spend $750,000 on stormwater improvements, that seems like a small price to pay for the new owner. It also allows us unlimited access to the Veterans Memorial, which I know is a key part of our community heritage here. So again, this creates a lot more opportunity for outdoor landscaping to beautify the lot, to make it better than just concrete. We could have permeable pavers, something like the Morton Arboretum has. If you've been there, you can really dress up the outside of the property in a really fun way that makes it look very Burr Ridge-esque. But again, there's this east-west orientation of the boardroom. The one major improvement that we have here to the police department is the 2-car expansion of the Sally Port. They only have 1 right now, and so Sally Port's basically a place where they can put secure prisoners or the like, and having 2 more really is a big, significant upgrade operationally for both the police department and Village Hall overall. So pretty inexpensive item, all things considered, but it certainly will help the police department long term. That is basically going to replace the garage that we have right now. The garage is used, but it's kind of used for junk, honestly. So we don't need that much space going forward. Again, we've got the, what will eventually be a right in, right out on County Line Road right here. But this is going to be for police parking or police access and the like. While we'll continue to have drop-off boxes and the like over here in the public parking lot that'll be used for trainings and all those other things. And again, this is just a reminder of what it looks like now. This is what it could look like in the future. This is a rendering that our architect, Evan, is here tonight. This is a basic rendering, massing of the what we're calling just plain old Village Hall. Police department will now become subsumed into Village Hall, and so Village Hall will include police in the Village Hall going forward. As you can see here, the police department sign was taken down and replaced by an oak leaf just for something to placehold on. But this is a better view of that pathway that I talked about there. There's a much grander entrance to the boardroom and the like. The Village Hall side, the admin side, is on the left, south side there, and then there's that traditional police side with the 3 poles that you see on the north right side. There's those paths right there. We've got a little landscaping just to indicate where it's at, but again, has a significant savings to the project. So again, we're calling this option 2 because option 2 is what it was called on June 9th. We've been able to cut over $1 million from the price on the attached option. Against the June 9th total was $6.85 million. We've been revising it. The stormwater parking, we don't think it's going to take $250,000 to create 2 parking lots. That's there to give you some buffer to say, okay, instead of spending the least amount of money possible on a parking lot, do you have budget to dress it up and have permeable pavers or something nicer, stamped concrete? We wanted to give some budget on that. We've got some soft costs here in terms of the architect, the civil, and the external. Project management's including in that budget, so we're not directly managing it. We would hire a project manager to do that for us, a construction manager. FF&E is furniture, fixtures, and electrics. $400,000, about a third of that is your dais. So, we'd have to create a dais and build it from scratch. So a big piece of that would be there. The 15% contingency is intentionally pretty high. On a project like this, we would probably stick to like a 6 or a 7%. But again, the direction from the board has predominantly been having a building that has wow factor, quote the mayor, and that contingency becomes your budget to have wow factor built into your specification. So there's a pretty healthy amount of what we're going to call design contingency in here, about $600,000 of total design contingency beyond the footprint. So if you built it, very value-based, bargain-oriented, you'd be much closer to 5, but that's not been the direction for the board to date. So we wanted to make sure you guys had well enough budget to make sure you could design the building to your exact specification. Option 2 financing has really not changed that much. There's still about a 15-month development timeline. And because we've shrunk it down and we have less engineering, a lot of that's going to be more upfront paperwork timeline than actual construction. The actual construction should take less than a year. And then option,
Back up a second, please.
sorry, yes. To this or?
So this is available funding.
This is available cash you can use on this project.
Thank you.
So we can do this, do it at Burr Ridge standards, and still not borrow money.
That's awesome.
And again, the $5.7 million, that's all in. $2 million of that is the Village Hall sale that we would ultimately need to enter into to facilitate that.
And Evan and I have gone over these numbers. That $2 million is a conservative amount. We think we might do better,
Okay.
just from the inquiries. That, the word's gotten out,
Could you
people,
bring it down to,
so.
what it looks like now and what,
So this is now, this is the proposed. I will only note for the zoning purposes in the room that the vast majority of interest in this current site is medical office, befitting the T1 district, so we wouldn't have a major issue getting it approved from a use basis. Option 3, we're going to run through this quick. Again, this is the standalone concept. This is this design. So we've looked at a lot of options for standalone on this property or the alike. This property meaning the police property. This is the only one that works with any sort of sense. We looked at buying a property on the west side of the police department and on the south side of the department. The west, it's kind of separate. It's into a neighborhood. It just didn't fit quite right. And on the south, the property is only 100 feet wide. The building is 85 feet wide, and the setbacks for T1 are 20 to 25 feet, depending on the spot. So it just doesn't fit south of the building, unless you're willing to give variances for yourself. But even then, the property to the south is conservatively $1 million buy. Then you have to tear it down, and you have to develop it. It's probably $1.2 million when you get all into it. So what this would be done is we're building this on the detention pond. It'd be vaulted with caissons. This would be probably $1 million to just develop the property in terms of the engineering. The building could be shrunk a little bit, but not as much as the attachment, only because the village hall and the police department would be sharing some things. We'd end up with about a similar number of new parking spots as we would in the attached, about 50 new spots. None of them would be in the back, just because we need to put things in the front because how spacing works. We'd also lose the County Line Road access on this property. This is pretty conservatively $8.75 million. That's an all-day number. I think it could actually be closer to 9, talking more with staff. So it's a significant premium to go standalone. I will say from staff perspective, the other downside of having a third building is you have a third building. That's one more thing that staff has to maintain: additional roof, HVAC, et cetera. You guys understand? So we're pretty much down to these two options. Happy to roll around any of these things that you like. This option 2 financing is the same for both options 2 and 3. All things considered. Here for questions.
So, I think there's consensus that we're not staying here, and we can get a very nice number for it. And there's probably consensus that we don't want to go on the Cook County side, and we'd like to stay on the campus. And I suspect when you look at the numbers, there's going to be consensus that the attached building still can have all the finishes and wow factors that, as I say, still up to Burr Ridge standards without having a third building and the maintenance that will be required there. So tonight I'm looking for some indication as to your preferences and also some direction to staff to start marketing this building, understanding that any final decisions, still come back to the board. But let's see what kind of interest and see what kind of demand there is for this building to be sure that we know where we are financially. Yes,
Okay.
Anita?
So I want to say great job, Evan and Mayor and everyone who's been working on this project. I think you've come up with some very good options and you've done a lot of due diligence, so thank you for doing that. I like option 2 for 2 simple reasons. It's the best on the pocket. I mean, budget-wise, it's the best. But more than that, I like the location. I feel that, you know, you come into Burr Ridge off of County Line Road, and it's important to see the Village Hall right there. If you have to go find the Village Hall, then that kind of defeats the purpose. So we're all used to having the Village Hall here, so I think this is a good use of our resources, and it's efficient, and hopefully you'll get a very good price for this building.
Anyone else? Yes, Al?
Yeah, just a quick look at it. It looks like the standalone building and the consolidation is almost the same price. And I would think the consolidation should be a lot less.
No, the consolidation is 5.7, it's this price right here. And again, there's a lot of contingency in that for design. Oops, what am I doing here?
The other one's about 8.
And the standalone building?
8.7?
8.75. So you're looking at about a 50% premium to go standalone,
8750,
8.7.
8.7.
And again, the main reason for that is because it's a larger structure. It's 50% bigger. It's about 10,000 square feet, and it also requires about $1 million of engineering that the attached does not require.
Now, looking at it also, you got 2 million that you think you'd get for this. So you're looking at borrowing,
Nothing.
We're not
what,
borrowing.
about 6 million?
We're gonna
No.
get cash.
Huh?
We have cash.
Nothing.
We have cash.
So with the
We
$2
will.
million, and I think the mayor's correct, the 2 million is a conservative number. The net is only $3.8 million, but again, that's assuming you spend 100% of the budget I've given you, and I've given you a lot of extra money that you may not end up spending. So the risk equity that we've got is $1 million. The capital fund, I think we might be able to do better than that. That might be closer to 700. You probably end up only spending the $2-ish million you got from the state a couple of years ago in that back payment issue. So at the end of the day, your general fund ends up where it was 2 years ago, and you're out of the Village Hall question.
And you have a new one.
When do you start?
Yeah. I've been on him on that too.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on this.
So when do you start?
So tonight I'd like to get direction. I want the board to give, I'm asking the board to give us direction to start marketing this property without any commitment. Obviously, there wouldn't be any signed contract because we don't have that authority. But we'd like to get something for you guys to consider and also to make sure our assumptions are correct.
The two elaborations on it, if I may. So I think I'd also like for you to ask the attorney and I to draw up documents to officially declare the Village Hall for sale.
Okay.
Some buyers will not put bids in unless they know the Village Hall is actually for sale. There is a lot of interest, and I will also tell you that one of the perks of doing it this way is most buyers who've called us have said, we just want control of the property. If you'd like us to buy it, close on it, give you the check, and then lease it back to you until you're ready to leave, we can have the check in hand, clean and clear, and stay in here as long as necessary. I hope it's not any longer than necessary, but we wouldn't be evicted by selling it. You know, if let's say we had a $3 million offer we wanted to take now, there'd still be a contingency if we stay in there until that's finished. We have a COI.
That was my next
We're
question.
gonna move once.
Yeah, where do you go? That was my
You
question.
go here until you have to go there.
Right.
Great.
So, do we need a formal motion for this, or, yeah, I will see it, but do we need a formal motion?
Well, we'll ultimately have to come back and get authority to sell the property under the municipal code, state statute, so.
Well, let me take Guy's
So
quick
we're
question.
you can have staff sell the property, you can go through a broker.
We can declare it for sale tonight?
No, we would come back with, the next meeting, we would come back with that instrument, so.
Okay. Yes, Guy?
Bang for the buck, consolidating administrative and police activities under one roof makes the most economic sense. I appreciate staff's ability to sharpen their pencil again, continue to bring the costs down, looking for opportunities and in the future to further reduce the cost. So I would support option 2 and also moving forward to begin marketing this building.
Great. So do you think you have enough direction tonight?
I do, and I'll only note that I met with trustees Smith and Schiappa individually, and they both expressed the same general statements, so I think there's unanimity on the subject.
Right. Okay, yes.
In one drawing, I thought trustee Guy Francis' office was bigger than most of the offices. Is that true?
I have no office. I mistook mine for yours.
So,
We're good.
okay, good. Thank you. And if you have any other questions that you think of, let me know. Any comments from the public? Good. I'm taking that as we're doing a good job. Okay, so that's good. Thank you. That will take us to public comment. Is there any public comment? There is no public comment. Reports and communications. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, what about the submitted comments, the written submitted comments from the Chase Moore
Oh,
folks?
I'm sorry. It's right here in front of me, and I just skipped over it.
There seems to be some issues with.
I mentioned that Mr. Nitti, the president of the HOA, did send us a letter about the e-bikes. Were there any other comments?
What was issue? It was about e-bikes. It was about speeding, continued speeding. It was also about violation of the restricted hours for ingress into Chase Moore. So I'm wondering how we're responding to that.
Well, I did send back an email to staff saying we should at least look back at the option of closing it at certain times, if that is something the HOA wants to consider. Remember, we said that it would still stay on the table, and if it's getting to a point where they want to consider it, as long as they would maintain the opening and closing, and because we don't want to have the staff do that, but we're trying to address it.
Are we doing enough enforcement?
Well, tonight we reinforced the enforcement with the chief. I think he's doing what he can with the staff that we have, and he knows it's on his radar screen.
I'm going to maybe butcher
Chief,
one or
you
two of the
wanna
details,
add
but
to
yeah,
it?
we spend a lot of time in there doing enforcement on 79th and Chase Moore. We've done some additional speed studies we have these pretty low profile data collectors, and we're not showing any speeding issue. I mean, we're talking like a 26.5 mile an hour average on a 25 mile an hour road, if I'm not mistaken.
20 mile an hour road, 20 mile an hour.
It's like 1 or 2 miles over on a, right? Isn't that correct? It's pretty banal.
Yes.
So the average is pretty, and we're also seeing significant decreases in traffic in the times that we've restricted it, correct?
The last time we did a study, the traffic did decrease, the enforcement efforts went up. They're spending an awful lot of time in there enforcing it. Now, as part of his comments, he also pointed out that when an officer pulls over one car and 4 more go driving past, he can only stop one car at a time, despite his best efforts to wave people over and pull them over. But they're spending a lot of time in there since the implementation of the restricted hours.
Yeah, and we should be able to at least maybe, again, on the cameras, photograph some of these license plates and track them down later. I know you guys are doing what you can do, and it is still in the forefront of our, but we have a rest of, we have a 6 square mile village.
I understand.
So I think we're paying the requisite attention to Chase Moore. I don't think we're not.
I think, Mayor, if I may, something we've talked about at staff level is we are getting, not to say that Chase Moore is not allowed to ask for service, they are obviously allowed. We get a lot of calls for effectively this type of thing, speed enforcement, traffic enforcement across the village, and everybody's entitled to ask for that. We'd like to at least foreshadow that we'd like to bring back a policy to the board, either at Street Pathway or the like, talking about how we will deal with these into the future. We have places in the village that are worse than others, and we want to make sure that we're addressing the worst safety issues. Not that these are not safety perceptions or safety issues, I'm not saying that, but we have one stretch of road where I think the average is like 39 and a 30. We would like to make sure we're spending time in those types of areas as much as possible, even though there may be less complaints over there. So it's really about developing a formalized way of saying, okay, if we get a complaint, let's do a study. If the study upholds the complaints or at least shows us there's an issue, let's progress that to, we've just bought new signs. If you go down 83rd Street, you'll see new signs that talk about your radar with speed. We're investing in the technology. If those don't work, we'll put people out there. And if those don't work, maybe we need to think about the design of the road. So some sort of written policy where we basically can say, at some point, either there's been enough enforcement, there's no problem, or there is a problem and we need to invest time, resources, and otherwise in making sure we rectify the issue either once and for all or at least substantially. I just want to foreshadow that this is, stuff like this has really got us thinking about how do we have more formalized approaches, because we do certainly acknowledge that speeding and traffic is a large concern for our community, and we want to be able to show up very quickly for those concerns without board direction. So unless I hear significant objection to that idea, we'll be bringing that back. We'll have that in the lab over the next few weeks and months and bring that forward to you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Yes, come on up.
Barbara Annison again in Chasemore. So
You can lower that.
traffic
Yeah.
and the speed, I'm very surprised that the speed is only 1 over the limit of 20. Being a walker and not seeing that being the case in most cases for me, but it could be anecdotal. I have talked about with John as well that there used to be a sign when you're going north on Chasemore Drive. There's a crosswalk, which frankly, because there's no stop sign there, is a dangerous crosswalk. No one uses it as a crosswalk because I'll be standing in the crosswalk and cars will blow through, and I'm not the only one that happens to. We would like a stop sign there so that they stop at the end of Chasemore Drive at the north. The other thing that we're finding is, and I've seen this multiple times now, people are heading north on Chasemore Drive, they blow through the crosswalk, and they go into the Pace driveway heading north. So it's the wrong way, the buses come the other way. They go right through there to avoid the stop sign. So there's a stop sign at McClintock, and I'll see, somebody will do it, and have you done it? So I'll see someone do it, and then people follow them. And it's because they can avoid that new stop sign. That happens frequently. It's not a rare occurrence. And I think about a year ago, a sign was put up there by Pace, because I think the village mentioned it to them. So they put a do not enter at that end when you're coming out of Chasemore. Someone hit that sign in the wintertime, dragged it to the parkway, and it was never replaced.
Oh, really?
So there's no sign there any longer that you can't enter that way because it was hit by someone at speed since it was dragged. So that's another issue, but that crosswalk still is an issue. And while I appreciate that maybe the speed is what you say it is because you've got the data, we don't have the data, there are no crosswalks to cross anywhere else on that road. So it is very dangerous. It's a curvy road. You look both ways, everything looks clear, and you go to cross and somebody's right there, which is why I think the speed is a little higher than say, although, again, you have the data. So consideration for an additional crosswalk or a stop sign within there we'd like to have, and then a stop sign at that end of the north end so that people truly do stop at the crosswalk. Thanks for considering that.
Can we do the stop sign?
I don't believe it's warranted based on standards, but again, I would rather we think about that offline. I think the one thing I'll say is that there is not a consistent speeding problem. I certainly acknowledge there are speeders, though. That's not a debate. Thank you.
We had talked about marked crosswalks and curb cuts along Chasemore Drive previously, and we should reinvestigate that.
I'll also say.
Are you speaking as a resident?
As a resident. Just to add to what Barbara said, it's not only the speed, but because it is such a curvy road, even if someone's going 20 miles an hour, where I live on Trent, it's right on the curve, and it's very easy to almost get hit because it's very, very curvy and you don't see it. And if you're going 21 miles an hour, it can be an issue when there's no other place to cross or no crosswalks when you're coming out of your street.
I thought we addressed the crosswalk, though. I thought we said we would look at,
So you're thinking of two different things. I think we're thinking of mid-block crossing, kind of near the middle of Chasemore Drive. And there's also the Chasemore at the north end of the property by, call it the entrance to the subdivision. I think those are two mutually exclusive, but consistently, I think that we've gotten questions on both sides of the street.
I was referring to the crosswalks intermediate, inside the
I
subdivision.
think she was talking about the ones on the north end near Pace.
Right.
Yeah, two issues, but same concept, to your point.
all right, well, let's relook at that. And certainly if Pace did put up a do not enter sign.
Right.
Was there, yeah.
And it was there and it's no longer there, let's get Pace's attention to put it back up and secure it in a way that it can't be run over and, somebody swerving through there to beat the stop. They're swerving through there to beat the stop sign. Oh, my God. All right. Yeah, one of those rent-a-car things.
Yes,
right?
yes.
You can only come out. I like that. I like that idea, though. So Barbara, we'll continue to address it, and we did get John's very well-written letter, and thank you, Trustee Francis, for diving through that more completely than I did during my earlier remarks. Okay, that takes us to 10, reports and communications. Anita?
Right. Well, summer is here. I hope everyone's enjoying the concerts. The last one is on the 31st. The one on the 10th was a rain day, so sorry we missed that one. But we still have 3 more concerts. And then we have a special concert this year, which is on Saturday, August 23rd. It is the United States Naval Band, and they will be playing at 7 p.m. on the Village Green. So I hope to see everyone for all these summer events. Enjoy the summer.
Anyone else? Okay, I have a few comments. Yesterday I did go to the Festa Ferrari. It was packed. A great band. It was big band style music. Vocalist. There's probably 12 pieces. So at least 6 horns. It was quite good. Weather was perfect, of course, Burr Ridge. But I did speak to a couple people about maybe making it a little later in the day and extend into the night, because if the lights were on down there at the downtown, it would really look spectacular with all those cars and all those people. So great event. I'm sorry I hadn't gone before this, and so next year it's on my radar to see what we can do to improve it. It's already great. I did speak to the Burr Ridge Willowbrook Chamber of Commerce, my annual talk. It was held at Poca Madre, which is a wonderful restaurant, but not quite a venue to give a speech in. Little compressed. But anyhow, it was a nice afternoon. Got a wonderful thank you card from John Wernement, to all of us, by the way. I'll have a copy made and sent, have Pam do that, but John, we miss him already, and he sent us a really great, from the heart, of course, is how he speaks. It's really good. And now I'm going to mention Bo Jackson, because he always wants to keep a low profile. And we have people here of some that are somewhat famous, but of course everyone knows Bo. And he's been in this community for 30 years, I believe. And he called me the other day. I'm happy to list him as a friend. And he called me and he said he wanted to show me something and meet me at the Village Hall. So I did. When Bo speaks, I listen. I met him down here. Janine came with me, and I thought he wanted to do something in his subdivision or something to his house. He drove us all the way down to the end of Burr Ridge, down to a forest preserve area, a little place with a pond. What's it called down there? And the road is in terrible shape, and the landing to put a boat in the water is not very good. And he said, it's a hangout at night for kids having fun, maybe on e-bikes. I don't know. But anyhow, it was an area that needed attention. And there's 3 governments that are involved. It turns out that it's the Forest Preserve and DuPage County, and, you know, we're neighbors to it, so us too. But, you know, Bo doesn't want the notoriety, but here's a guy who is still concerned about his community and the areas around it. And you know, I just thought it needed to be mentioned. I'm sure I'll get a call saying, you know, he didn't want the attention, but he should be thanked because he's a person of stature. He's a great individual, and he's a longtime resident who still cares about Burr Ridge. So I just wanted that noted, how Bo reached out to fix something he thought wasn't right. And we're on it. We're going to try to get it done. So that's the end of my remarks for tonight. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn, if we have a meeting, to July 28th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.